Hello everyone, my name is Ian, you're watching Big Rock Moto, and thank you so much for tuning in today. Honda's Goldwing is one of the most recognized names in all of motorcycling. We can trace the Goldwing's roots all the way back to 1974 when Honda introduced a motorcycle called the Goldwing. It had a flat four-cylinder engine, so flat meaning that the engine is laying down like this, and back then it was a four-cylinder with two cylinders sticking out each side. It was also a shaft drive motorcycle. So the combination of the flat four-cylinder engine and the shaft drive really meant that Honda was going for like a comfortable kind of upright, kind of a sporty-ish motorcycle. But what Honda soon realized was that what people actually wanted and what that platform really was good for, that flat engine and the shaft drive, was for long distance touring. You see, back in the early to mid 1970s, you had BMW, and they did have touring bikes, although they were German and they were on the expensive end. You had Harley-Davidson, but those motorcycles, no offense, were not very refined, especially back then. And so here comes Honda, a Japanese manufacturer, and people are clamoring for a bike that is comfortable, smooth, low maintenance, reliable, and really good for long distance riding. So over the years, what happened was Honda developed the Goldwing and met the consumer demand for that touring-oriented motorcycle. So the Goldwing grew over the years. There was a 1200, there was a 1500, you saw more fairings, you saw more electronics, you saw the eventual adoption of ABS brakes and fuel injection, electric windshields, more technology, you saw it go to a six-cylinder engine from a four-cylinder engine, and so on and so forth. So I've only ridden Goldwings very briefly in my past. Although I've owned and ridden a lot of different motorcycles, I haven't had the opportunity to spend much time on the Honda Goldwing. And so Honda lent me this bike for about a month. This is a 2022 Goldwing Tour with a dual clutch transmission, pretty much fully loaded except for the airbag. Very grateful to Honda for that, and I've really been enjoying my time with the bike. So here's what you can expect from today's video. A little bit of a change up from my normal review, just because I like to do something different now and then. I'm going to kind of talk you through and show you all the bike's really interesting features and specs, how all this stuff works, what all is going on here. I mean, this bike has a parking brake, it has reverse, it has Android Auto, it has an electric windshield, it's got an automatic transmission. There's a lot to talk about. And look at the luggage too. Heated seats, I mean, we'll get into all of that. Then we're going to take the bike for a ride, and I'm going to show you how it feels, the best way I can anyway, to ride a Honda Goldwing, because it's a very unique riding experience. And we're also going to talk about kind of the ups and downs of the bike and who this bike is for. Alright, so features and models and pricing. Let's run through that real quick. So for 2022, the Goldwing comes in two main flavors. The standard Goldwing actually replaces what they used to call the Goldwing F6B bagger. So the standard Goldwing, not the Tour, does not have the integrated top trunk luggage, this piece here. So the bagger, and I'll put a photo here, just has the lower saddlebags, and it has a lot different look. It's also lighter weight and has a little bit less features. Then you step up to the Goldwing Tour, which gives you this integrated rear trunk, right, with a lot more storage. This is a very large storage compartment up here up top, and of course that gives you a place for the passenger to be extremely comfortable and supported back here. You also get these extra speakers. Now, for each flavor of the Goldwing, you can choose a manual transmission or Honda's dual clutch DCT transmission, dual clutch transmission, which is an automated manual that shifts gears for you, or you can control the gears manually through the thumb and finger shifters. But it has some cool tricks up its sleeve, including a forward and reverse walking mode, which I'll demonstrate here in a minute. Now, if you go up to the Goldwing Tour DCT, they have one version even above that that comes with an airbag. An airbag gets put somewhere down in here and then, of course, explodes and help if you have a collision, helps, check that forward momentum and keep you safer. So it's the only motorcycle in the world that I know of to have an optional airbag. So pricing for the Goldwing starts at around $25,000 and some change for the base model, and then goes all the way up to $32,000 if you want the airbag Tour DCT model. This model here is the Goldwing Tour DCT, and it's running around $29,000. So let's talk about some specs that you would care about. So this motorcycle weighs 842 pounds, fully fueled up, ready to go. Let's talk about the engine. So it's Honda's famous flat six engine. So you have the cylinders sticking out on each side. It makes the engine really well balanced, so there's no vibration, and very smooth, and you have a lot of torque. So power is around 125 horsepower, and torque is around 125 foot-pounds of torque, and I will list the metric equivalents of that below here. Now let's talk about the suspension of the Goldwing, because it's very, very different. If you notice in here, it's kind of hard to see, but you don't see a traditional fork on the motorcycle. It actually uses a double wishbone front suspension design. You can also see some of that up here. And the reason Honda's doing that is a few things. One is ride quality, so it really isolates you from bumps in the road. The second thing is packaging, and what I mean by packaging is that it takes less room than a conventional fork, so they can push everything forward and give the riders, the two riders, more room. So they have really good reasons for doing it, and the motorcycle rides very, very, very smoothly. And it also has some anti-dive under braking. If you've ever ridden the BMW with tail lever, it's a little bit similar to that. Now the brakes on this motorcycle are amazing. Actually, some of the best brakes I've ever felt on a motorcycle, and I can't believe I'm saying that. This bike weighs over 800 pounds, but you've got 6 pistons on each side. So the front brakes have a total of 12 brake pistons and these gigantic 320 millimeter rotors. So they definitely did their homework on the braking. This thing stops incredibly well, especially when combined with that unique front suspension. So for tires, you have an 18-inch front wheel and you have a 130 section tire there. The back is a 16-inch wheel and you have a 200 width tire. So pretty wide rear tire to handle all the weight and of course all the torque of this motorcycle. Now, one thing we have to talk about with the Goldwing is the seat height. So one thing that's very, very attractive, and I notice when I'm walking up, is the seat is barely like above my knees. Now, on most of the adventure bikes that I'm used to riding, the seat is all the way up to my waist. So this is about, for reference, 6 inches lower than my BMW GS A1250. So when you sit on this bike, you feel very low to the ground, very in control, which gives you a very nice, secure feeling because, you know, let's be honest, it's a big, heavy motorcycle. So let's take a look at all the integrated storage on this bike, and then we'll show you the rest of the features. So up front, you've got this compartment here with the plug for your phone, so you can use Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. This does not open. I think that's probably reserved for the airbag model. I don't know why they have this here. That's not a lever or anything, so that's just interesting. Then also, there's a little secret storage over here, which some people don't know about. If you open that, you have a little storage here. You could put like maybe, I don't know, some snacks in there or a wallet or whatever you want to do. Then we get to the storage in the back. So it opens with these push buttons. So you have these side saddlebags, which are not huge, but you can hold a lot of stuff. And they have a nice secure closing. So let's look at the rear trunk. You can see on the top, I believe these are removable covers where you could like mount a rack, but I'm not sure about that. This is a very large rear storage. I'm not sure if you can fit 2 full-size helmets in here, but it's very, very large. They did increase this about 10 or 12 liters from the 2019 bike, so some people complained there wasn't enough storage versus the old 1800 Goldwing, and so they increased that a little bit. And then, of course, you have the saddlebag over here as well on this side. It looks like there's a spare tire kit and some holders and things like that. So the bags are supported by these cables here, so they only open so far, and they're nicely damped. So we'll close that up. So let me take you on a quick tour around the rest of the bike. So you know what, let me turn the motorcycle ignition on so that you can see some of the lighting. Let me go ahead and hit the hazard lights and the high beam. So in the back, what you see is you've got these very big, almost automotive style rear tail lights. You've got the exhaust outlets down there, which are nicely integrated below the luggage. You can see that huge rear tire. These turn signals are very bright. I really appreciate that. Working our way around this side, you can see under here is actually, I thought they were kind of tip over protection, and maybe they are, but also these pull off, and they're mounting points for straps if you need to strap the motorcycle down to a trailer. I actually used them to get the motorcycle out here from Honda headquarters. Then you've got passenger floorboards that fold down. The driver pegs are not like a floorboard. They're more of like a traditional peg. You've got the brake lever. You can see the dual clutch transmission. We talked about that storage here. Big wide supportive seat, of course. We talked about the flat six engine. Okay, so let's work our way to the front of the motorcycle. You can see down below here we've got the fog lights, which are integrated into the front engine cover, and then we have these very, very bright full LED headlights, and the turn signals in the mirrors, I don't know if you can see that, but they're actually extremely bright and visible. So that's one thing with the Goldwing. It's hard to miss a Goldwing coming down the road. All right, we're in the driver's seat of the the Honda Goldwing DCT Tour. So let's start at the top and work our way down. There's actually a lot to cover here. So starting at the top, the windshield, you have these little wings on the side. Now, the windshield is power. So this works really, really well because in a low position, I can look over the windshield and get a little bit of air, but look how much it raises up. Wow, now it's above my head and it shoots all the wind up over my head, and I'm almost 6 feet tall, so that's saying quite a bit. Now you might be wondering, what is this, right? It's not a tray table to put your appetizers. It is actually allows some of the wind to actually blow onto your helmet if you want some cooling air on a hot day. So then you push that down. Working our way down to the dashboard. So the dashboard there's a lot going on here. So you've got some LCDs on the side, you've got an LCD here, you have analog gauges, and then you have a big TFT here in the middle, which is not a touch screen. This whole thing's covered by glass, so everything is under the glass. So it's not a touch screen like you get on the Africa Twin. So what do you get here? You have some idiot lights up on the top. The main TFT screen is a multifunction screen. So using your buttons here on the left, you can do a bunch of different things here. Okay, and we're not going to get into all that right now, but you can do navigation. This is where your Apple CarPlay or Android Auto will come up. You can go into the settings of the bike. For now, let's just put it to the built-in navigation there. You can see it shows you the speed limit of the highway you're on, which I think is really nice. Now, if we move over here, you've got kind of a trip computer. So you've got air temperature, trip meters, miles per gallon, tire pressures. There's a fuel gauge here. On the little LCD on the right, you've got the temperature gauge. You've got a warning panel, which can show you like if your side stand is down, if your trunk's open, it's going to tell you that. And then you have your suspension setting, so you can set the suspension preload based on how many riders you have and how much luggage you have. So here's the suspension preload. I went into the menu, so you can see you can select it's not letting me change it because the engine's not on, but if you do, you'll feel the motorcycle going up and down to adjust the preload electronically. So I really am a fan of electronic suspension. If you've watched my Africa Twin videos, you kind of know why. So let's go back here to the navigation. Now in this little thing, you've got the riding mode. The riding mode is switched, where is that? Here, this little trigger switch here. You've got rain, tour, sport, and economy. I usually leave it in tour or sport. This is the way I prefer to do it. It changes the throttle response, all the settings of all of the safety systems and everything like that. Even the suspension damping, harsh or soft, is going to depend partially on that riding mode. Now over here you've got a large analog speedo and a large analog tachometer with these silver rings, and then some more dummy lights kind of in the middle like the cruise control indicator. So I know this is getting long, but I have to show you all this stuff. I think it's really interesting. Now working our way down, you can see the unique suspension arrangement inside here, and when we ride you'll see that going up and down. The bike has a power switch here, so you can turn off on accessory with a little rotary dial. All right, and you need to make sure you turn that off when the bike is parked, or else you'll kill your battery. Below that, you have a wheel to control things that are up on the screen. You have an enter button, a home button, and some of this is duplicated with the left-hand switch gear, but some of it isn't. And then you have a dedicated button for heated grips and heated seat for the driver. The passenger heated seat is behind you, so I really like those dedicated buttons. Instead of having to go into the menu to do heated grips, you can just push that right there. You can see the grips have 5 levels, and then a heated seat has, wow, 5 levels of heating. That's really impressive. It's a warm day today. You can see I'm wearing a mesh jacket, so we're not going to be putting that on. Where did I leave off? Okay, so we finished that. Now the switch gear, you've got the DCT buttons, which we'll get to last. You've got all the controls, loud automotive style horn, all the controls here which control that. The volume button up and down for your radio. We already talked about the windshield. On the right hand side, you've got your drive mode selector, automatic, manual, neutral, drive, hazard light buttons, cruise control activation, cruise control, and then the riding mode button. Adjustable brake lever, there's no clutch lever, and unlike some Hondas with the DCT, there's no parking brake here because the parking brake is right here. So you can see I just pull that up and now the motorcycle will not move. I actually really like having a parking brake on a motorcycle. It's a very handy thing to have. So I promised you I'd show you the walking modes with the DCT, so let's fire the bike up and show you how that works. So when you fire the bike up, it's going to be in neutral. You can hear that 6-cylinder engine purring away down there. Oh, she sounds good. So what you do to engage the forward and reverse walking modes, your kickstand has to be up, you have to be holding the front brake, and then you press this little button here that says plus and minus. Now you see how it on the dashboard, well, it doesn't show anything on the dashboard, I guess. Oh yeah, it does. It has this icon here. Now if I hold the plus button for the DCT shifting, what's happening is that the motorcycle walks itself forward. You see, I'm not using the throttle. So this is really handy for parking or pulling in and out of a garage or what have you. And it's just a really handy feature. And you also, of course, have reverse. So if I kind of point the rear of the motorcycle uphill, now I press this, and now the motorcycle is going in reverse for me like that. So forward, reverse with no throttle. Very handy, very good implementation, just as you would expect from Honda. And then to get out of it, you push the neutral button to get back into neutral. All right, let's ride this bike, shall we? So, to power up the Goldwing, turn that on. Your start switch is here. It takes a second for the screen to boot up, but you can still go ahead and start the bike up. All right, now another interesting thing I noticed is that when you park the bike, the windshield automatically retracts all the way down, because I had it about this far up to reduce some of the wind buffeting. So, I've got the parking brake, we'll disengage that. With the DCT, you have drive mode, and then, you know, you can switch between automatic and manual here. We already talked about the walking modes and everything like that. So, let's go ahead and get to riding this bike. So there's a couple things I want to dispel right away about the Goldwing that I don't agree with. One is that this is a bike for old people, for old men. I don't agree with that at all. This bike handles really well. It's pretty quick. It's fairly sporty. There's no reason why this is just a bike for old people. It's a lot of fun to ride, and it's extremely practical. Number two, people say that the Goldwing is, you might as well just drive a car, or it's too big or too heavy. I don't agree with that either. This motorcycle is not too heavy for what it is. In fact, it's 100 to 150 pounds lighter than a lot of the touring cruisers that people buy, like Harley-Davidson road glides and things like that. And it's not like driving a car. It's a motorcycle. It handles like a motorcycle. It accelerates like a motorcycle. It stops like a motorcycle. And you're out in the elements. Now, yes, it has good wind protection, but that doesn't mean it's like a car, okay? So, with those two things out of the way, what's the experience like of riding the Goldwing? Well, so the best way to sum up the experience of riding this bike is, I would say, refinement and luxury and smoothness. So you can't really feel the engine running. Now some people like that, some people don't like it, but there's literally no vibration from the engine because of the flat 6 configuration. With the DCT transmission, the gear shifts are very seamless. Now the DCT, you can take manual control. So like right now it says I'm in 6th gear, but if I want to drop a gear, all I have to do is hit minus. Like if I want to do a quick pass or I want to goose it, all I have to do is hit minus. If I want to upshift, I can upshift any time the buttons are at my fingertips, or I can go into manual mode and like that, And now the motorcycle is not going to shift for me. Now it's in manual mode, so I have to shift with the trigger. So let me go back to automatic. So let's talk about the ride quality. So you can probably see the little suspension armature working underneath me. The Goldwing almost completely isolates you from bumps in the road. I mean, small bumps. If you hit a big bump, you're still going to feel it. But it does an incredibly good job of keeping you isolated, you know, from all of these cracks and bumps in the pavement. So I really do enjoy that. It makes the ride very smooth. Let's talk about the weather protection. So the fairing on this bike is a lot slimmer than the previous Goldwing, but it's still very, very protective. I essentially have no wind on almost any part of my body. My legs are protected, my torso and arms are protected, my helmet's out of the wind, and with the windshield, so if I lower the windshield down, now I've got some nice air on my helmet. If I put it all the way up, I'm looking through the windshield, and now I feel zero wind at all. I can even lift my visor like this, and there's nothing happening here. Like, I could sit here and drink a coffee, whatever. Not that I recommend doing that. So let's close that up. Now I need to clear out some of this traffic so I can show you some of the performance of the Goldwing, because the performance is actually pretty impressive. One thing we can talk about right now is the handling. So I'm not going to call the bike agile, but it goes through turns very gracefully. You have a pretty good amount of cornering clearance, more so than like a cruiser style motorcycle. It handles very natural. You just kind of, you know, put some input where you want to go and there's no problem. It doesn't feel ponderous or big or heavy whatsoever. Let's talk about the brakes. Let me show you the brakes on this bike. Holy crap. To check my cameras. The brakes stop this bike on a dime. I mean, I meant what I said in the walk around. Like, they're incredible brakes on this bike, and you know, they should be incredible for what this bike costs. With a heavy bike, you're going to take passenger and luggage. You do want good brakes. You see, but I can really move this bike through these corners quite well, and you can keep up with a lot of motorcycles that you wouldn't think you could keep up with. And you can definitely catch up to any kind of car that's on the road. So you still think a Goldwing is slow, huh? Now the brakes are also linked on this bike, so if you use the rear brake pedal, it activates the front brake as well. And if you use the front brake, it also activates the rear brake for the best possible braking. You see why I say the Goldwing is not just for old people? Oh yeah, I'm gonna get a speeding ticket here. Oh yeah, we put my windshield up, now we're cruising. Set the cruise control. There we go. So the experience of riding a Goldwing down a straight highway like this is what you would expect. There's the transmission going into 7th gear. It's a 7-speed DCT, by the way. They did that to give you a nice low RPM. So at about 60 miles an hour, it's at about 2,000 RPM. So the engine's just barely working. And it's what you would expect. It's smooth, quiet, there's no wind. You could do this all day long. The riding position is incredibly upright. Your feet are just slightly, your feet are pretty much right below your knees, so it's very comfortable. The seat is incredibly broad and supportive. And the Goldwing delivers on its promise. I mean, there's not much else to say about its touring capabilities. It's just a bike that I want to ride all day long. What is this idiot doing? Okay. I guess this is how people drive in Southern California. not giving Americans with pickup trucks a good name by showing that. So the DCT transmission, well, anyway, no, let me go back a second. The riding modes. So the riding modes, I'm in Tour. Now, if I go to Sport mode, it changes a lot. You see how I downshifted there? That's the bike doing that. So in Sport mode, the DCT holds onto its gears for a long time. It keeps the revs much higher. You're not going to get as good a fuel economy, but it gives you a much sportier ride feel. Okay? Now there's also economy mode, which really keeps your revs low for economy mode really keeps your revs low for, you know, good fuel economy, but it'll still downshift if you grab some throttle. Rain mode, you know, you're going to have more sensitive ABS, more sensitive traction control in the rain mode. Also, the throttle response is nice and soft. I actually kind of like it. But then Tour mode is what most people are going to use most of the time. Such a nice day to be out here doing this. So let me do some acceleration runs here for you guys. So I'm in Sport mode. Sport mode really holds on to the gears. Alright, so I hope I've given you kind of a good tour and kind of explanation of everything about this Goldwing, how it is to ride. I know there's a few things I've glossed over, like the Android Auto and the Apple CarPlay. That'll have to be a separate video. This is just going to be too long, but I wanted to just give you what the experience of riding a Goldwing is and try to dispel some of the common misconceptions I think out there about it. Make no mistake, this is a fully modern motorcycle that can go through corners very well, accelerate very well, brake very well. It doesn't feel heavy because the Boxster engine is a super low center of gravity. It doesn't feel heavy at all. It's got a low seat height. It's amazing for carrying passengers. It has integrated luggage, which locks super easily. It's got very convenient features. There's really not a lot to complain about with the Goldwing. Yes, it's expensive, it's complicated, the luggage could be a little bit bigger, the gas tank could be a little bit bigger, but if you want a Goldwing, you see, people who buy Goldwings are very loyal to these bikes. They're gonna buy Goldwings. Like, they're not gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna go buy a, you know, this other bike. They're pretty loyal to this for the most part. And if you want this bike, this is it. I mean, there's no other bike with a flat six engine with this kind of features and this kind of pedigree and reliability and long maintenance intervals and all the things that come with it. So you have to appreciate the Goldwing for what it is, and I think this latest generation is the best handling, the sportiest, the slimmest. I don't know if it's the lightest, but I think it's lighter than the last one. It's an amazing motorcycle. It's an engineering masterpiece almost. It's incredible what Honda can do with this bike, and if you've never ridden one, I encourage you to go ride one. If you're thinking about buying one, trust me, you're not going to have any regrets buying this. They have amazing resale value, they're incredibly reliable, they're incredibly well built, so you're not going to have any regrets in that regard. Is there anything I don't like about it? Well, not really. I mean, not in the time that I've had it. I can't really find anything to really complain about. It's one of the most complete motorcycles that I've ever ridden. They really did think of just about everything. So I hope this video was informative and entertaining and educational. I hope you guys got something out of it. Please put questions or comments below in the description and I'll make sure to get to those. I really appreciate you all watching. Please support Big Rock Moto. There's ways to do that in the description below of this video. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. Please ride safe and we'll see you out there. Starship Enterprise, engage!